Article 37 of the Constitution allows people to picket and demonstrate peaceably. But Mr. Speaker, I want to also say that the national security organs must be very careful on how they deal with the demonstrators, Mr. Speaker, because we don't want life lost under demonstrations that have been allowed by the Constitution, so long as they are peaceful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, people should not forget that demonstrations are an important thing, Mr. Speaker. The people who are not now feeling good about it might need it tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. And the people who are using it now might not need it tomorrow also, Mr. Speaker. That is how it goes. The majority leader might not need demonstrations at this point in time. But at a certain time, hapa mbele, he might be the one leading demonstration in the country, Mr. Speaker. So we have to get a balance. We have to get a balance on how to allow the people who want to demonstrate and the people who don't want it. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, this is something that is commonly important to every one of us as politicians, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not predicting anything, but I am saying that I agree with him that demonstrations must be peaceful. They must not destroy people's properties, and they must not, but we must not curtail people's freedoms of assembly and freedoms of association, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. This country, Mr. Speaker, is a constitutional democracy. And once we are a constitutional democracy, we are guided by the constitution that we gave to ourselves, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, when Kenyans give views in the form of public participation, we have to take into consideration what they are saying, because, Mr. Speaker, that is what Kenyans want us to do. But, Mr. Speaker, Kenyans also must be enlightened. They must be taken through civic education. Well, Mr. Speaker, there is a serious conflict between what the government is supposed to do, the executive, what Parliament is supposed to do, and what Kenyans think that should be done, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, Kenyans must know that they have also delegated their sovereign power to Parliament and the executive, Mr. Speaker, through an election. And they must have trust and faith in what Kenya and what those institutions are doing. Mr. Speaker, a country can fail, a country can become banana if the citizens of that country lose faith in the institutions that they have given themselves through the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And we must always remind Kenyans that it is very important we must have faith in our institutions. Because lack of faith in institutions is anarchy, Mr. Speaker. And now, for that reason, the issue of corruption, the issue of non-adherence to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, must be addressed in a manner that puts faith in the public, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like the judiciary now, for example, there are a lot of issues. Kenyans are losing trust and faith in it because some of the decisions that are coming out from there are not, Mr. Speaker, necessarily constitutional decisions, Mr. Speaker. No, they are not. Because yesterday, I came across a judge has issued a court order in Mombasa, and another judge has issued a contrary order on the same issue in Kwale, Mr. Speaker. Counties that are next to each other. I'm shocked. How can you not? And one has issued that order 4 days earlier than the other. I am sure the other one knew what happened. Mr. Speaker, we cannot run a country. I'm not running a country, but a country cannot be run in that manner, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say that Kenyans should not be made to lose faith in the institutions they created for themselves in the Constitution. Parliament has passed many, many bills, Mr. Speaker. And Parliament is one of the institutions that does public participation extensively when you consider to the other two arms of government, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we can do better. I hope I have been in Parliament last year when the President gave his State of the Nation address. And this one, Mr. Speaker, this one has been far, far much promising and far much satisfying than any other one, Mr. Speaker. And I hope and pray that things get better, because I can see that economically a lot of things have been achieved. And I think after the broad-based government was formed, Mr. Speaker, you can see things changing to the better and things getting now, Kenyans have a lot of faith and hope, Mr. Speaker. The shilling has been